Types of employment: full-time, part-time, casual, and contract employment. Under the Australian awards-based system, there are a number of employment classifications that individuals can work under. Types of employment in the ICT industry include full-time, part-time, casual, and contract employment. So, firstly, we have full-time employment. Full-time employment is an ongoing employment contract that involves an employee being assigned consistent hours. Features of full-time contract include being assigned 35 hours or more of a working week and the accumulation of both sick and holiday leave. Essentially, full-time contracts have an unspecified length where an employee would expect to continue to be employed in their full-time position. So that means is week to week, you're always expecting to get the same consistent hours throughout your employment. And there is no end to this contract. Either an employee needs to be terminated, which there needs to be paperwork and evidence that the employee is not doing their job, or the employee resigns himself for this contract to end. Otherwise, the employee is expecting their consistent hours of 35 hours or more a week. Next, we have part-time employment. Now, part-time employment is also an ongoing employment contract that involves an employee being assigned consistent hours, though the amount of hours in this schedule is slightly different. Okay, this time it's less than 35 hours a week. Okay, this means that instead of working 5 days a week, they might work 3 days a week, or they might still work 5 days a week, but less than 7 hours a day. Okay, and this might be because it suits them. They might have children at home they need to look after, or they might be juggling more than one job at a time. Still, with this contract, they also accumulate both sick and holiday leave. As with full-time employment, this contract also has an unspecified length, so they are still expecting their consistent hours week to week as a part of their part-time contract, and they need to either be resign or be terminated for this contract to end. Okay, otherwise it is also an ongoing contract that is meant to go for an undetermined period. From here, we then go into casual employment. Now, this involves an employee being assigned irregular work, okay, which means that they both enter into a series of short-term contracts of work on a series of occasions. So this might even be day to day, okay? The employer does not promise specific work to the casual staff, and the casual staff don't have to say yes to all the hours they're being offered, okay? So there is flexibility on both ends. As a result, the hours might vary and their pay will vary week to week. Okay, it is inconsistent work. Okay, it's also easy to get rid of a casual staff member because the employer doesn't have to actually give them any hours at all as a part of this contract. Casual employees usually don't receive entitlements such as sick or annual leave, but they are given a bit of extra pay as loading on top of their casual pay to compensate for this. Okay, a lot of people when they get their first jobs enter into casual contracts. Okay, and they work for an organization and they might be working after school or after university, and it's whatever hours they can fit in during a week. And then when those things are on school holidays or there's a university break, they can do more hours. So the irregular work suits them. So if you are going to remember the key thing about casual, it's irregular hours, okay? And they can differ from week to week based on what the employer wants and what the employer wants, both having input on what the hours are. The final area is that of a contract employment. A contract of employment may be used for a fixed term, temporary, or probationary employment period. This means that it's for a specific length of time. Now, it could be consistent hours within that specific length. Okay, but it might be a 3 month contract, a 1 year contract, depending on its purpose. The length of the contract will be decided before a worker starts their employment. Employment contracts can also be used for temporary project work, such as a software development team being brought in to develop a piece of software for an organization. They might be given a 6 month period to develop that and they're paid during that 6 month period. Thus, if they go over time, it can come at their expense. It can also be used to replace employees when they either go on long service leave or if a lady is pregnant and then she goes on maternity leave when the baby is born. Okay, while they take their time off from work, we then pay someone to come in and fill for them. And that would be under a contract too, because it's once again for a fixed time period while that staff member is on leave. If an employee is terminated before the contract expires, the employee may have the right to pursue compensation under the termination of employment provisions. Okay, so while they are in their time of the actual contract duration, okay, they have a right to their consistent hours. Okay, and if there is any sort of termination, well, there needs to be evidence on the employer's end to say why they've had to release them from their contract beforehand. What we're saying here, it's periodic employment there. Okay, they're employed for a specific period. Okay, so I hope you understand the difference of employment contracts here, in that a full-time contract is working more than 35 hours a week and you accrue leave, and it's an ongoing contract. Part-time is also an ongoing contract, though less than 35 hours a week, still getting those leave periods. Casual contract is irregular hours that can differ from week to week, and a contract of employment is for periodic employment for a set period of time.